Hi Dollar Divas, welcome to Behind the Vanity. I'm Jessica. So today is Makeup and Celebrity Sunday, and I'm gonna take it kind of into another direction today. So we're gonna apply some new Dollar Tree products that I found in some recent hauls, and I'm gonna focus and talk about 7 celebrity deaths that I feel are just incredibly tragic. So anyways, if that sounds good to you, you are definitely in the right place. And if you like Dollar Tree oriented content, I will have my entire Dollar Tree makeup and haul playlist linked down below so you can check out more Dollar Tree oriented content, as well as my entire Makeup and Celebrity Sunday playlist where a lot of times it's a chatty get ready with me. A lot of times I do Dollar Tree makeup and we talk about all different types of things, celebrity, television, pop culture oriented. So if you are new, I do hope that you'll subscribe and become one of my Dollar Divas. And if you are returning, thank you so much for returning for another Makeup and Celebrity Sunday. I'm really happy because I've done 2 in a row this week. So that is my goal. It doesn't always happen, but definitely able to get it done this week. So that's really good. So yes, let's talk about some celebrities, and I will show you how I got this makeup look using all Dollar Tree products. So nothing new for brows. I don't have a new product at the moment, so we're just gonna go ahead and use this Broadway Colors Eyebrow Kit. And to clean them up, this is a product I've only used once. It's the Milani Retouch and Erase Concealer. This is a recent find, and we'll use that to clean up the brows. I'm gonna use this lighter shade right here. So I put Marvin Gaye as number 7. So Marvin Gaye was killed on April 1st, 1984. And of course, part of what makes this so tragic is that it was by his own father, and that essentially he was killed with a gun that he purchased because he had kind of become paranoid that somebody was gonna try to kill him. And so he bought this gun. So I believe him and his parents were living under the same roof during this time. And his parents had gotten into an argument, and he was kind of intervening between them. He was really close with his mom, but he wasn't as close with his dad. So his dad's name was Marvin Gaye Sr. And Marvin Gaye Sr. was kind of a complicated man. He was first of all, a very strict disciplinarian, and he was also a cross-dresser. And he struggled with this because he was also a Christian minister, so I can just imagine that was just a tough thing. But it was widely known around the town that they lived in. So Marvin Gaye Jr., Marvin Gaye, he was bullied because of this when he was a kid. So because also another thing about his last name, being Marvin Gaye, when he got older and famous, he decided to put an E at the end of his name because kids, I guess, were questioning his sexuality and all that kind of stuff. So he made sure to put an E on the end. That way it's a little bit more artsy and all that kind of stuff. So his dad was actually very, very, very resentful of Marvin's relationship with his mom. And, Marvin, when he got famous, he became the breadwinner. And his dad was really put out by this, So, it kind of, when Marvin was famous and everything, the death of Tammi Terrell, which was his really close, they had a platonic relationship, but they were very, very, very close. And of course they worked together a lot. She passed away kind of tragically at a young age. And it was really hard on Marvin, and his drug use got really, really, really bad. And so, with that comes mental problems and all that kind of stuff. And so he became increasingly paranoid. So he bought his dad a Smith & Wesson 38 Special pistol to kind of protect the family and him. So not only was he paranoid, but he was also kind of suicidal. And I don't know if that's part of the reason why he gave it to his dad and didn't just keep it for himself. So over the course of several days, his parents had been fighting over an insurance document. And so Marvin was protecting his mom. His dad was just, I guess really angry, and they kept having altercations. So at some point they had gotten into an altercation. His dad and his mom were fighting, and Marvin went to his room, and Marvin Gaye Sr. went to his room to confront Marvin Jr. And they got into a tussle. So after they kind of gotten into a tussle, Marvin Gaye Sr. left Marvin's bedroom, and he then returned with the gun, and Marvin Sr. shot him. So Marvin was shot 3 times by his dad. The first shot was right to his heart, and that was the fatal shot. However, he was shot 2 more times, and so he was pronounced dead, I believe at the hospital. He was pronounced dead at 12:38 p.m. on April 1st, 1984. And he was 1 day shy of his 45th birthday. So even though Marvin had traces of cocaine in his system at the time of his death, which, may have made them have a tussle to begin with, it can create all kinds of anger issues and all that kind of stuff. His death was ruled a shooting, of course, and it's just incredibly tragic that he had to pass away so young at the hands of his father, and just all of the circumstances surrounding it. And so next we have eyeshadow, and I think it was my last Makeup and Celebrity Sunday video. I used one of these. I have 3 of these little LA Color palettes, and I used one last week, and I'm going to use one of the other ones this week. This is the Strawberry Peach, and they're just these little mini palettes. And I think I'm going to also, I have this Hard Candy, it's like a highlighting palette, and I think I'm going to mess with some of these shades as like toppers, like maybe that green, and just see what I can come up with. So I'm gonna have a little bit of fun. I'm gonna go all over with this like white shade right here. So number 6 on my list, and I actually have a Makeup and Celebrity Sunday video dedicated to this next person, which I will of course link down below. And I might do another one because the second part of her series came out on Netflix, and I think I'm gonna learn some more stuff, so I might do a second one on her, and I just love her. But number 6 on the list of just tragic celebrity deaths is Selena. So like I said, if you watch my channel, you kind of know the details already because I do have a video, but for those of you that don't, Selena was shot and killed March 31st, 1995 by her fan club manager and friend, and she was just 23 years old. So I'm gonna go into this shade right here and kind of put it all over my lid up to the crease. I'm gonna use a smaller brush for this. So, you know, Selena was much beloved by everybody around her, and you know, that was kind of the problem. Yolanda came into the picture via a phone call, and she was working as a nurse at the time. I'm gonna switch to a bigger brush, and called and said that she was a fan of Selena's, and she wanted to run a fan club. And I guess if it were me, I'd have been a little bit more cautious of this person's intentions. And her family, her dad was very protective of Selena. And I feel this was just a slight moment of indiscretion, and they let this woman into their lives and did not really know she was pretty obsessed with Selena. After Selena died, they did find that her house was a shrine to Selena. They struck up a friendship and really became family, you know, they became friends, you know. But over a period of time of running the fan club, and over time, Yolanda was given more responsibilities as she gained trust. And that's a tough thing too, because we go into relationships with people being wary, and then they earn our trust. She had earned trust and was given more responsibility. And after some time, they started discovering that money was missing, and some things just weren't adding up. And so Yolanda was confronted about it, and at some point she was fired, she was let go. But they needed some important, you know, back in the 90s, there was no internet really, there was no way to get documents online, there wasn't e-documents and all that kind of stuff. So Selena needed some really important documents. So she needed to get in touch with Yolanda. Well, Yolanda was a little bit manipulative. She had some instances in which, to get Selena's attention, she claimed that she was raped in Mexico and was at the hospital. And Selena, of course, having a big heart, felt really bad for her friend, went to the hospital. The doctor pulled her aside and said, "We don't see any evidence of anything happening to her." That was another red flag for Selena, that this woman wasn't really exactly who she thought she was. She wasn't as honest and all that stuff. So you have the money all going missing, this event where she had apparently been raped in Mexico. So the relationship was, Selena at this point was done. She didn't want to have anything to do with Yolanda, but she needed these papers. So I want a little bit of a darker shade, so I'm gonna go into this new LA Colors 12 pan eyeshadow palette. This is in Chic, and I'm gonna use this dark shade right here just to kind of smoke it out. Don't mind my finger. I hurt my finger the other day, and it's really disgusting. I'm gonna try to do my nails tomorrow. I can't make any promises, but I do want to put my gel nail polish back on. I'm just gonna kind of smoke this out a little bit. Selena had gone with some family, like I said, either her husband or her dad, and they weren't able to get the papers from Yolanda for some reason. So Selena and Yolanda had communicated, and Selena agreed to meet Yolanda at the Days Inn in Corpus Christi. And Yolanda said, "I will have the papers for you then." So Selena met Yolanda at the infamous Days Inn in Corpus Christi and went into her hotel room to get the papers, and Yolanda was, of course, given the runaround again. So they got into an argument. And so Yolanda had given Selena this ring because Selena had, she collected eggs, like Fabergé eggs and anything that had eggs, anything to do with eggs. She loved eggs. So Yolanda had given Selena a ring sometime back with an egg on it. Well, when they were kind of done arguing, Selena was just so mad, she took off the ring and threw it and turned to walk away. And apparently it was just more than Yolanda could handle. Yolanda shot her in the back. I think it hit her in the back shoulder, went through, and it was just one shot. And so Selena, the room was really kind of far away from the lobby. And so she did her best to run to the lobby, and the hotel room was in a little less populated area. It was like on the back of the hotel or something. So to get around people, she had to run quite a ways to the lobby to get help. A little bit of fallout. I'm just going to clean it up. And she entered the lobby, and there was a couple of women in there working at the front desk, and Selena collapsed right in the lobby. And apparently she was still conscious at this time, but she was quickly losing blood. So they tried their best to revive her and all that stuff. But of course she was pronounced dead at the hospital. Meanwhile, Yolanda had taken herself hostage in her truck in the parking lot with the gun to her head, the same gun that killed Selena. And there was a big standoff that went on for hours. The cops just tried forever to get her to put the gun down. I'm gonna try one of these highlighters as a topper shade and kind of see what we come up with. I might try a brush first and then use my finger. And I'm gonna go with this green. It's kind of a creamy highlighter. And so let's see what we can do. This may not work at all, but I'm surely gonna give it a try. That's pretty. I like it. So you just think outside the box. You know, a lot of these I may not end up using for highlighters. I think today I'm gonna use one of these more natural shades as a highlighter, but these colorful shades I probably will never use as a highlighter. So at some point during the standoff, Yolanda had the radio on, and of course there was news of Selena on there, and she almost pulled the trigger when they had announced that Selena had indeed passed away from her injuries. But anyways, they did calm her down and they were able to take her into custody, where of course she was in prison, and I think she's still in prison. I think she gets out pretty soon. I think it's like 2025. So yeah, just an incredibly amazing life of an amazing performer and just overall person. Of course, her kindness was just second to none, and you know, just a complete tragic story. You know what I mean? It's just definitely one of the most tragic celebrity deaths I feel of all time. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of mascara on. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Wear mascara from the Dollar Tree, and just to have for underneath our eyelashes. So number 5 on the list of tragic celebrity deaths is Sam Cooke. And he died at the age of 33 on December 11th, 1964. Of course, he was a very, very, very popular singer back at that time, but he was also heavily involved in civil rights as well. And it was at a time where there was no real voice, especially for people of color. So his death's a little bit controversial, and I'm just gonna kind of share what they feel has been proven, but there is a lot of conspiracy as well, and I'm not going to get into that too much, but I am just going to kind of share kind of the details that they know and a little bit about what some of the believed conspiracies are. So he was shot at the Hacienda Motel in Los Angeles after having dinner with some people that he worked with. Now, they are not suspects in this at all. So for lashes, I'm going to use these. I got these recently. These are the LA Colors Dramatilash False Lashes. They're kind of askew in the box there. And I'm gonna use my Ioni Everlasting Lash Glue. So there were different reports at the time, and apparently his friends had seen him at the bar. First of all, he was flashing money, and his friends were like, stop, don't do that, don't do that. And then kind of as they were leaving, or they were getting ready to leave, you know, he was at the bar, you know, just as you would, I guess, on a night out of having fun, and he was talking to a woman. So from there, his friends never saw him again. So there's conflicting reports as to whether or not this woman claims she was kidnapped, but it's also believed that he left with her because she was a hooker. So anyways, either way, they ended up at the Hacienda Motel, and he ended up shot. So the woman that he was with, her name was Elisa Boyer, and they were at the hotel for a little while, and then at some point, she left through like a bathroom window and fled. Of course, she said it was because he had kidnapped her and was gonna rape her, and that she left in such a tizzy that when she grabbed her clothes and left, she just happened to have his pants kind of mixed in with that. Of course, his pants had that big wad of cash, which she claims she just had no idea. And then there's belief that she stole his money from him, that there was no real struggle, that she just simply took his money. So either way, he got really upset. Whether either one of those is true, he got a little worked up. He went to the office and there was a woman working the front desk. Her name was Bertha Franklin. So apparently he was really upset about the fact that his money was gone, that his pants were gone, his money was in it. So while my lash glue is drying, I'm gonna put on some liquid liner. This is the LA Colors eye marker. So Bertha claimed that she was in fear for her life. She saw a crazy look in his eye, and so she grabbed her gun and shot him, and it killed him. Now, everyone that knew Sam said he didn't have a violent bone in his body, which really leads to the fact that he was just really, really upset. He was probably a little bit drunk, probably had some drugs in his system, but he was really just upset that and frantically trying to get help for the fact that his money had been stolen, and that Bertha was indeed in fear for her life and killed him because she thought he was going to do something to hurt her. Now the conspiracy is that this was all a setup. It was a setup to get Sam to the hotel room and for him to be killed because of his involvement with civil rights and all that kind of stuff. Apparently he had just gotten, it's one thing when, like, you know, you have Martin Luther King Jr. who got shot and killed and all that kind of stuff. And then you have Sam Cooke, who is highly influential because, you know, he was, you know, there's almost nothing stronger than music in this world. So he had this major platform of being a very beloved singer. And he was too powerful in the movement. So it is believed that it was a conspiracy and that people conspired to get him to the hotel to, you know, out him. Another thing that goes back to the fact that he just simply went to this hotel with a hooker was that this motel was notoriously known for this kind of thing to happen. They had really low hourly rates and all that kind of stuff. So, and Elisa, the woman, she was arrested a month later for prostitution. And Bertha as well had a criminal record. So that's another reason why they don't really feel like she was really necessarily in fear for her life from Sam. And actually in 1979, Elisa, she was convicted of second-degree murder, I believe, of one of her boyfriends. These women were kind of shady, you know what I mean? So this is another theory. So Sam, of course, was a womanizer. You know, he was a popular singer at the time. It's what a lot of people did. And apparently at his funeral, his wife brought a man that was seen wearing one of Sam's watches and a ring of his. And 2 months later, she dumped him. He was a bartender. And she ended up marrying Sam's backup singer, Bobby Womack. So they don't know the ultimate motivation of Sam's murder. It could have been as simple as he just got caught up in the situation and this woman feared for her life and all that kind of thing. It could be a conspiracy, you know, through the civil rights stuff. Or it's believed it could be his wife who wanted him dead as well. So they don't really know, and they can never really reopen the case because so many of the key players are now gone. So who really knows? But yeah, definitely a tragic celebrity death. So now we're going to do foundation and concealer and move on to our next celebrity. So this is the new color moisturizing foundation. I got medium this time just to try it. I've tried the Sassy Chic BB cream in my last Makeup and Celebrity Sunday video. So now I'm going to try this. And at some point I am going to compare these with Sassy Chic just to see if they're not the same because they look so similar. And I've never tried the medium shade in any of these. So the next person on the list is Owen Hart. And he was a Canadian wrestler and he ended up becoming a famous wrestler known as the Blue Blazer. Oh, this shade is nice. I think it's gonna be perfect. He died on May 23rd, 1999 in just an incredibly tragic way. So his character, the Blue Blazer, was kind of like a superhero type character, and so they were doing an event. It was WWF's Over the Edge event, and it was going to be on pay-per-view. It was at the Kemper Arena, and yeah, it was a pay-per-view event, and there were also over 16,000 people in attendance. So he was matched up against the Godfather. There's a lot of wrestlers I've heard of, and then there's some I haven't. This is going on really nice. I really liked I'm gonna add a little bit more. I really liked the BB cream. So he was supposed to enter the stage like a superhero. He was gonna kind of ascend from the rafters. And so he was harnessed up, you know, as you know, as you see a lot, you know, like Lady Gaga doing it and, you know, at the Super Bowl and all that stuff, you know, it happens all the time, you know. So I'm gonna also add concealer and powder. First for concealer, I'm gonna use that Milani Retouch and Erase. And I'm gonna put some of that under my eyes and where needed. And I'm just gonna kind of put it on even though it has a sponge applicator. I really like this in my last Get Ready With Me. And I actually have a green concealer that I'm gonna use a little bit as well and just test that out a little bit. So he was harnessed up and he was supposed to descend into the arena when he was released apparently prematurely, and he fell over 78 feet down to the ring in front of this live audience and died. And of course, that is just horrible for everyone who had to see that live, his colleagues, all that kind of stuff. But another part of what makes this so horrible and a really big controversy surrounding this whole thing, I'm gonna mess up his name, Vince McMahon, whatever the announcer, whoever it was in charge, decided to continue the show. So they literally removed his body from the ring. There was apparently a dent in the stage, blood, and they continued the show. I mean, you know, I'm in show business. The show must go on most of the time, except if that happens. Like, literally, that is just, so there was huge controversy, and rightfully so, to continue the show after such a unbelievably tragic event. I mean, I have no words. I'm at a loss for words. So this is, I didn't even show you, this is the Wet n Wild Mega Cushion Color Corrector. This is for redness, and this is in one of my last hauls. And it's just this green cushion type of stuff. I am using the sponge applicator it comes with, and it's really very nice. I get a little bit of redness, and so I really like it. I do love their foundation, which I've purchased at the Dollar Tree as well. Now I'm gonna add the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Pressed Powder. This is in Warm Light. I don't have a brand new powder, but we'll just use this one. I did buy this at the Dollar Tree. And I'm gonna use a sponge, and then I'm gonna brush it off. So after, this unfortunate incident, his wife and his family, they sued the WWE, saying that they staged this really poorly planned entrance that resulted in this unfortunate, tragic, horrific death of their loved one, you know? And they also claimed that the harness was potentially defective. So the maker of the harness was also named as a defendant in the case. And I don't think it ever went to trial or anything like that. They ended up settling out of court for the event. So just tragic. And of course, there was a lot of trickle down, after this. It's just one of these types of things just rocks a community, just the wrestling world was, kind of forever changed. Just an incredibly sad, very tragic, horrific celebrity death. So next is gonna be blush, bronzer, and highlighter. For highlighter, I get this Hard Candy Fox in a box. This is in Party Girl, and it's a little shimmery. We're gonna just kind of see how it does. It comes with a little brush, but these are pretty worthless. And it does smell delicious. It smells like chocolate, but it really kind of smells like, particularly like Cocoa Pebbles. It's actually depositing a little bit more color than I expected. So number 3 on the list is Tammi Terrell. She passed away on March 16th, 1970. Again, super young. She was 24 years old, very close to Selena's age. And this death really shook, as we talked about Marvin Gaye earlier, this death had a really bad effect on Marvin Gaye. It devastated him and really fueled his drug habit because he was just so close and so devastated by her death. So Tammi was on her way from school as a teenager, and she was raped by 3 boys. And of course, after this, she had a lot of health and mental and physical trauma, of course. At 17, she was and I didn't know this, at 17, she was in an abusive relationship with James Brown, who was 12 years older than her. One night in 1963, she left him after an assault, and apparently he assaulted her because she left one of his shows too early, or she didn't watch his entire performance, and he beat her up really bad, but she left, so she was done with that. This is actually really pretty. It's not as bad as I thought with the shimmer. It's got a nice shimmer, but it's also got a little color payoff, which is really nice. So then she had another really high-profile relationship with David Ruffin of The Temptations. So they apparently got engaged very publicly on stage. She quickly found out that he not only had a wife and 3 kids, but he had another girlfriend. So because of this and the fact that he abused drugs really bad, she left him, but it wasn't until a really bad beating where he hit her in the head with a motorcycle helmet. So for blush, I'm gonna use this Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in Pearlescent Pink. Don't have a brand new blush from the Dollar Tree, so we're gonna use this, it's really pretty. So as a teenager, she had already suffered like migraines and headaches and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, you add all these beatings and stuff onto that, and I mean, you end up in some pretty poor shape at a certain point, you know? You can only take so much. So one night she was on stage with Marvin Gaye and she collapsed right into his arms, and it was discovered that she had a brain tumor. And although her health was declining, she did continue to work and record and tour and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into this Hard Candy highlighting palette, and I think I'm gonna go into, so that one right there, I think I'm gonna use as an inner corner highlight and under my brow bone, but I think I'm gonna use that one there as a highlighter. It's like a cream formula, just like that green that we put on our eyes. And I'm just gonna use this kind of, just a stiff brush to kind of tap it on. So in 1969, Tammi retired after a doctor deemed her too ill to continue working. So when she passed away, she was just so incredibly sick. She was 24 years old. She was confined to a wheelchair by this point. She had suffered blindness and major hair loss, and just such a sad end. You know, it's just not fair that some people don't get a chance to live to their full potential. You know, she just died, just an unhealthy woman, you know, and it's just so unfortunate. And I had no idea, you know, I've known all of those Motown songs that she sings, and I had no idea she was so young and died so young, and it's just it's so tragic to me. So now we're gonna finish up the eyes and move on to the lips and talk about the last two people on my list, and out of the 7, the 2 most tragic celebrity deaths, I feel. So I'm gonna put on a little bit of eyeliner. I'm gonna reluctantly use this LA Colors eyeliner and brow pencil in black. I'm gonna try to line my waterline. So number 2 is Pat Tillman. If you're not familiar with who Pat Tillman is, he was a pro football player who gave up his career to join the military. He enlisted in the U.S. Army after 9/11. He was just inspired to do it and fight for his country. He was 27 years old, and he passed away on April 22nd, 2004. And the saddest part about this is that it was friendly fire. It was just a sheer accident. So I'm gonna go into that shade right up there and go under my brow bone and my inner corner. And I'm gonna use my new LA Colors setting spray. This is one of those things I always repurchase at the Dollar Tree. Before I do that, I'm gonna go under my lash line with another shade in the palette. I think I'm gonna use that shade right there and just go underneath my eye a little bit. And initially when this happened, it was apparently covered up by the US military. So apparently, and kind of the details of what happened was they were on patrol in eastern Afghanistan, and they were ambushed. So of course he was praised as a national hero. He was given the Silver Star and the Purple Heart, then promoted to corporal like some weeks later. And his parents kind of had a fallout with the Army because they tried to cover it up. They didn't know at first that it was accidental, and they claimed that the Army wanted to use their son as like a patriotic poster child type of a thing. They felt that the Army didn't want to talk about the fact that it was friendly fire because they didn't want people to not support the war. So it did go into a criminal investigation, and it was deemed that some of the people in charge didn't do what they should have done, and which is tell the truth. Okay, and I'm going to go into that shade right there, and I'm going to first go under the brow bone. See how this does. Ooh, that's pretty. I'm just going to take another brush and just kind of blur it out a little bit. Little precision brush, and I am going to spray it with my setting spray. But yeah, this case is just so tragic, and I kind of remember it happening and being so sad because you have this young man, incredibly, very, very, very handsome, had everything in the world going for him, including obviously a big heart to leave, what a lot of people wouldn't leave. Let's be honest. I mean, how many people would leave being an NFL football player to fight for their country? You know what I mean? That's a big thing and very commendable. And then to just the way it happened, it was an accident, and accidents happen, and that's part of what makes it so tragic. So for lips, I'm going to use 2 products. I'm going to use this e.l.f. lipstick in Classy, and then I think I'm going to top it with this from my last haul, this Wet n Wild Mega Glow lip gloss. I'm going to use it like as a topper. It's really pretty, or it can be used by itself. So number 1 on my list of most tragic deaths is Sharon Tate. Of course, we know how tragic this whole situation was. On the night of August 8th, 1969, Sharon Tate, along with 3 other people, were just brutally murdered. Random, just completely random. And then the next night, of course, you had the La Bianca murders. Again, just so random. That's part of what's so horrifying. Of course, we know it was Charles Manson and his family, and it wasn't actually Charles Manson, but it was his his followers, you know. Of course, you know, her husband, Roman Polanski, was out of town. And, you know, of course, Sharon was young. Again, a young, beautiful actress. She was 8.5 months pregnant, which just makes it incredibly tragic. And so the other people in the house, I'm gonna mess up these names. It was a friend of Sharon's. It was also her former lover, but they were really close. Jay Sebring, he was a hairstylist. And then Roman's friend, an aspiring screenwriter, Wojciech Frywowski, and his, can't pronounce the name, and his girlfriend, Abigail Folger, which was an heiress to the Folger company, and the daughter of Peter Folger. So they were all at the house on Cielo Drive, just having fun, partying. Roman was out of town, and they were just up there having a good time, you know? And these people took a lot of effort to get to the house. It was gated up, and they really went through a lot of effort to get to the house. It was very secure. I mean, they shouldn't have been able to, but they did. They got to the house. So this I didn't know, and it's just so incredibly sad. Apparently Sharon had pleaded with them before they killed her to let her live long enough to have her baby, that she would be a hostage. She would literally be a hostage. That way she could have her baby. They didn't listen, and 2 of the women in the Manson clan stabbed her 16 times. And of course, they wrote all that nasty stuff on the house in blood, pig, and all that kind of stuff, and it was just an absolutely horrific scene. Absolutely devastating for Roman Polanski to learn of all this. Just, I can't even imagine. And of course it shook the town. You know, it shook LA, you know? So she was stabbed 16 times, and of course her and her unborn child passed away. So apparently there were 5 perpetrators. So it went from they were gonna get the death penalty to where it was just life in prison, which by law also included the possibility of parole, which is crazy. But I think 2 of them are still currently living, or were up until recently, and they had been denied parole multiple times, like 17, 18, 19, 20 times. So probably will never happen. They will probably die in prison just like the other 3. So now I'm going to top it with this. And so I'm gonna go ahead and top it with this and see. Ooh, that's pretty, very iridescent, yet not offensive. That's very pretty effect. That came out really nice. That really is a very pretty lip topper. Not too much, and again, would be very beautiful on its own. So thank you for watching another Makeup and Celebrity Sunday, where this week I just wanted to focus on something a little bit different. You know, I know we're all intrigued by kind of everything celebrity, and so I just kind of wanted to showcase just some of the, I don't know, the celebrity deaths that really kind of touched me for one reason or another. I'd love to hear your comments down below. What are some celebrity deaths that really touched you for some reason? I know it's kind of like a morbid subject, but I know we also, you know, we kind of like that kind of thing since things unfortunately do happen. You know, here we are, you know what I mean? And I will have my entire Makeup and Celebrity Sunday series down below. I talk about all kinds of things celebrity, TV, and celebrity and pop culture oriented. So if that is your thing, if this is your type of thing, definitely check that out down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.